the very essence of the mental game is this. The only reason an event matters is because we make it matter.
Welcome to the Mullins Farrier podcast.
Every horse, whatever it was doing, had a season. Once their competition season finished, they took the shoes off, they chucked it out in the field with some other horses, and it had a 2, maybe 3 months period where it went and remembered what being a horse was all about.
Even in a cheaper area, your prices should be set by your skill level, by your experience. And some people might not feel that they're worth, as much as others. But if you're only charging $160 to shoe a horse, then the only way you're making money is on your trims.
The WCB was a way to make sure that you kept the trade alive. I think I'm a custodian of the trade, so it's like we have to keep it going.
It was hard, but you adapt and overcome, and that probably gets to me where I am now. It's problem solving, horseshoeing's problem solving, and back in the day it was problem solving how to be as strong as the older apprentices. So it's all about adapting and overcoming, which was good.
I know we learn every day, but you do have to put yourself outside the box and just continue to learn, which is why I was just trying to do my fellowship, because I still have apprentices, and if I stay at my AW, I'm stagnant. I'm Abby Bunyard, AWCF, ATF, from England.
Welcome, everyone. I'm sure you noticed the new intro. I worked on that the whole flight back from England. Just thought I would change things up a little bit for you with some new and equally inspiring quotes from some other folks who have been on the podcast. As I'm sure you already gathered from the accents of the people in the new intro, this is the first episode of many to come out of my trip to England, and Abby here is the Vice President of the British Farriers and Blacksmiths Association. Abby was admittedly a bit hesitant to do this at first. With a little bit of cajoling from Danny, though, we were able to convince her to sit down and do this. Her positivity and her kindness came through quite strongly in this. And in re-listening to the edited version of this, I was reminded of a good friend over here, Kathy Lesperance, who you've heard in an interview way back in the beginning. But their two personalities are very similar. They're just go-getters, very strong women, but very kind as well. I've told many people that it was really cool to go to England and meet many of my heroes that I'd heard about for so many years. But I had also met many new heroes, and Abby Bunyard AWCF is definitely one of those. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And whereabouts in England?
Dorset. The
Okay.
depths of Dorset.
And where is that in relation to here?
3.5 hours down.
Oh, wow.
Down
Okay,
towards the coast.
right.
Yeah,
You've had a long drive to get here.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
So what role do you play? Because you're obviously here with the BFBA.
Yes.
We waited for you to finish a meeting, and I'm assuming it had something to do with that as well.
Yeah. So that was for the Trailblazers.
Oh, okay.
It was a meeting set up by Cliff Barnes, just to sort of a pre-meeting meeting for February, because we'll have the first cohort in May next year.
Okay.
So it's just working out what questions we need to ask ourselves from the results. All to do with training, all to do with the apprenticeship systems. So
Okay. I've heard Danny mention this. It's called the Trailblazer, and it's a new program, right, that you have set out for educating?
by government, yes.
Okay.
So it's having industry people guiding the apprenticeship systems. It's to do with ATF training farriers and tradespeople leading the industry forward.
Gotcha. Well, let's start with your beginning. How did you become a horseshoer?
My beginning, it started when I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah, the yard that I used to ride at, I was very fortunate. The farrier there, I used to stand and watch. And I told him when I was 6 that when I grew, that's what I was going to do.
You knew right off the bat.
That's what I was going to do. And he sort of came really close up to me and went, when you're big enough, you come and find me. So when I was 14, when you do work experience. My dad was in the Navy, so we were very fortunate. I was fortunate to go to, I felt at the time, private school. And I said to the house mistress or the careers advisor at the time that that's what I wanted to do. So she said that no lady from this school was going to be doing that, and that she'd find me a position in accountancy or anything. So being probably the madam that I was at the time, I stamped my foot and said I'd already organised it. I went
Good
home.
for you.
No, it wasn't. It was terrifying. I went home and I said to my mum at the time that this is what I'd done. And her being her said, well, you better sort it out. And I sat on the phone for ages. I probably shouldn't say, but shitting myself, not really knowing what to do because, you know, oh my God, now I'd lied to everybody. What was I going to do? So in the end, I plucked up the courage and I rang the gentleman concerned and said, I didn't actually ask for 2 weeks work experience. What I did was I said, I'm coming to you for 2 weeks work experience in May, and I'm going to send you the letter of everything that I've got to send you. And please can you sign it, and I'll see you on the 1st of May. And put the phone down.
No pressure?
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
At which case he rang back and went, right, I'll see you on the 1st of May.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So I did my work experience, and then in the summer holidays, I went back. And funnily enough, back then, the teachers would come out to see where you were doing your work experience. And they fought. They fought in the classroom as to who was going to come out because it was so different. And it was brilliant. Mrs. Redman Lyon came out. She was so cool. She was my science teacher. Luckily, in that yard, a foal had been born that night. And so she just had a wonderful time because my boss was so, he was so exuberant in everything that he did that, you know, she went back and reported back to the school. So it was fantastic. And then I did summer work experience with him and I kept turning up and he'd go, oh God, you're here again. For God's sakes, you know, and I swept the floor and I cleaned the nails and I did everything that I possibly could. Back there, I think I wrote about 200 letters and I never got a reply because at that time, there were really no women in the industry. There was Annie Claxton. There was, I think, another name that I didn't know. And at the end of the summer holidays, this chap spoke to my dad and just said, she's never going to get an apprenticeship. I'll just have to give her one. It's just she's so keen. I don't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
She keeps turning up. I don't know what to do. She just won't work. So yeah, the rest is history. It was amazing. He was an amazing man. He was an RSS, so just a registered shoeing smith.
Oh, okay.
And so quite sort of revolutionary in his time. And yeah, I really owe everything to him, really.
And what was this gentleman's name?
It was Mr. Richard Wood.
Okay.
So not vastly known, just known in our area. But yeah, he really did. I owe him my career, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when you did your apprenticeship, at that point, they had the system, some iteration of it like they have now.
Yep.
So you would have to do your time with him and then go to school?
Yeah. So back then, I think we did 9 weeks straight off to start with. And then 2 weeks at the end of the year of exams. So it was a different system again. It was an NVQ system, a national vocational qualification, and then at the end you have your diploma. So it was 4 years, 2 months, I think it was. So it was 2 months probationary, and then your 4-year training, and then each year you'd do. Then it went to 6 weeks of training in the college, and then 2 weeks of exams, and then 3 weeks of training, 2 weeks of exams, and then 2 weeks of exams at the end.
Okay.
That's how we did it. I might be wrong. It was a while ago now. But it was roughly that, yes. Yeah.
And now that I'm becoming more familiar with the schools, which school did you go to?
So when I trained, there was only Hereford School of Farrier.
Right.
And that was in the old railway station Nissan huts at the back of Hereford.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was all the Nissan huts. It was, yeah. And on the corner, there was this old pub. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so from there, once you became qualified, did you continue working with the gentleman that you worked with?
So he was amazing because he was very much sort of work for him, say 4 days a week, and then day for me, and then 2 days a week, and then 2 days for me. And also I met a chap called Paul Gibbons, he specialised in polo. So I did a day for him, and literally you were what I'd call clogging. So I was the trim and nail. And then he'd have an apprentice that would be taking off. So you'd have a row of 25, 30 horses. The apprentice would go up the front. I'd go behind and trim. And then Paul would go behind and fit. And then the apprentice would go behind and clench. So you'd go up the front and back down the hinds. So behind each horse would be a pair of shoes. And I'd go up nailing after I trimmed. And I'd come back down the line, put the hinds on.
Really?
Yeah.
And the horses would just stand in that line for...
Their polo.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was amazing because I went to places like Kerry Packers, Les Lyon, Pomeroy Champagne, all the big, high goal teams. It was just an eye opener. I remember going into this yard and saying to Paul, it was Les Lyon, the Lions, and there was this massive articulated blue and gold lorry, and I was only sort of 21 at the time, and I said, my God, how much does that lorry cost? And Paul said, never mind the lorry, Ab. He said, there's not a horse in that yard worth less than 42,000, and it takes like 16 horses. I don't know how many horses it took, but it was like, oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, it was just another world, but lovely. It was good fun. Good fun.
Okay. And that's what this gentleman.
So that was my day a week. Yeah. And then as I built up my own work, I then sort of reduced my days for Richard. But then 3 years after that, or 4 years after that, I then employed my boss on a Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. So the tables turned, and then, it was really cool.
And what were the types of horses that you took on once you started getting your own?
Oh, I did anything but not race horses.
Okay.
I didn't do race. We did point-to-pointers and stuff.
And I have to ask there, what are point-to-pointers? I've just heard this word today, and I've heard it a lot today.
So originally, the original point-to-pointer was like steeple to steeple.
Oh, okay.
So farmers, agricultural people that had slightly more blood horses, thoroughbreds, that would race from steeple to steeple.
Oh, okay.
And it was family fun.
Right.
It was family fun. And then they created the courses, which were, your normal, typical round courses. But it was farmers and everyday people that could afford to have a thoroughbred in the corner, a bit of fun, low-key racing. Yeah.
Okay, now it makes more sense to me. I was trying to figure out what the point.
Affordable, manageable racing.
Right.
In your Nora welly boots. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's nice.
And did you find, so obviously you ran into a little bit of trouble finding somebody to take you on as an apprentice.
Yeah, terrible.
How was the perception with clients as you were building your own business?
It was different. It was, obviously there's not many men called Abby, but you did have the age-old people ring up to say, my horse doesn't like men. It isn't that it doesn't like men. It just doesn't like full stop, whatever you want to call it, shoeing, stood still, whatever. It's not, it doesn't like men. So that I did try and avoid that because, there's an element that comes with that kind of client.
Right. Yep.
But actually, to be honest, because my boss had a very good reputation, I was built on that, but the point was that he kind of guided me in that direction. And then I didn't have to rush to build my client base because I had
you had a
work
steady
to do.
Work.
Yeah. So it just, as it built, it was lovely. I still shoe for those clients. I adore them. Mm-hmm. I love them. I've shod for them for, 28 years, 29 years.
Wow. Yeah, you developed quite a relationship.
Yeah,
for that.
I have. Yeah, you're part of the family. You know their children, you know their grandchildren, you know their ups and their downs. You've been to their weddings, their bar mitzvahs, their funerals. I'm privileged.
Yeah.
I am privileged, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not everybody would say that about the clients that they have. So that is saying a lot.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, in going into school, would you run into resistance there, like with your classmates, teachers?
My first day of college, I couldn't lift my toolbox and nobody really spoke to me in the car park. And I was so bloody minded that what I did was I emptied my toolbox in the boot of the car I took my toolbox into where it was meant to be, and then I very slowly maneuvered all my tools into my toolbox without asking for help. And nobody saw what I was doing.
Right.
But nobody really spoke to me. I was a bit of a, I don't know if you can call it, what would you call it?
Like an outlier or
It was
something
weird.
unusual.
It was a very weird atmosphere. Everything I suppose that I'd come across before, but tenfold. It was tenfold. It was terrible. And it probably took a good week. People bypassed you. It was quite weird. But I desperately wanted this. So
Nothing was going to stop you.
no,
anyway. Yeah.
no. Whether you were a threat or whether you were just, or whether they thought there was no point in talking to you because you weren't going to be there long, I'm not sure what it was. But you kind of had to not prove yourself as in loud and proud. I just very quietly did
Just
my
kept
thing.
doing the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the biggest turning point was, and there was a chap called Matthew Chisnell, and I don't know where he is now. I don't even know if he's shoeing. He was like an older chap on our course, and he kind of took me under his wing after a week or two. But we were doing these specimens. You had to take your specimens up and then obviously remake them to prove that you had made them. And I'd done all of my specimens. There was one left, and I was ahead of most people. There was one really good guy there. He was a bit more of a blacksmith, a really nice chap, and they were amazing what he did. And he'd finished, and I was nearly behind him, and I burnt my bit of steel. And at that point, I was like, oh, crap. Very gently, just this bit of steel turned up on my anvil. And from that point, he kind of looked at me, this chap, Matthew Chisnell, he looked at me and he winked. He went, you got this. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, okay, thank God. Oh, okay. Yeah, and off I went again. And it was, yeah. I don't even know if he even knows that he was that guy. To this day, I don't know that Matthew Chisnell knows that he was that guy. But to this day today, I owe him. Yeah, he was.
Kind of give you that push.
Yeah,
to just,
you got this. It's like, yeah, thanks.
That's really cool.
He was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have a few friends who are women farriers back home.
Yeah.
And the biggest struggle they've had is in finding a partner that isn't threatened, I think, by the really cool job that they do. Has that ever been a problem for you or not?
I mean, I'm married to a chap called Frosty.
Yeah.
And he is just bloody amazing. Yeah, he's fab. And he just stands back and just goes, I'll see you in a bit.
Really? Yeah.
You know, I came in and went, I'm going to do my associate. And he sort of looked at me and went, is that a good idea? And I was like, yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I've got this. And he's like, I will see you in a bit. And yeah, and off I go. I do what I do. And then I go, yeah, great, cool. Magic. So we're going to go on holiday? What are we going to do? I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Skiing. Let's go skiing. Okay, cool. Yeah. And this year, I've been training to do my fellowship, and I'm kind of in the midst of it all. I had a good go at the exams just gone. I didn't pass it, but I was chuffed, and I know where to build on that.
Yeah.
So I'll be back in April, and I'm doing it bit by bit. But in between that, when I'd done it, I came back, and Frosty said, we're going to go skiing before Christmas. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know that line is drawn, and we need a minute. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah. That's cool.
It's great
cool.
to have the support and the space, right?
Yeah. But he does put me back in check, and that's fine. I get it. He laughs at me a lot. We laugh a lot. Yeah.
Key to any good relationship. So did you compete at all? I know competitive shoeing is such a huge thing here. So
no, I'm not. I wouldn't say I was a competitive farrier. I do compete a couple of times a year for fun, or for, just because you should. Just put yourself out there. I wouldn't say I was a competitive farrier. I do make sure my apprentices compete. My last apprentice that's just joined us, she had been with us a week, and I took her to Edenbridge and Oxted, which was, you would say, was unfair, but my instructions are, the audience do not know what you're doing. All you have to do is hit a bit of steel and smile, because you're creating an atmosphere for somebody to watch, and B, you're just putting yourself out there. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. Just be. Just go and be and have a really good time.
And learn a ton.
That's it, you know? And at that competition, I knew the judge. The judge realised what I'd done. It was exceptionally unfair, but he actually came up and shook her hand at the end and said, you know, good on you. And she'll carry that.
Yeah, just like
She'll carry
that other gentleman would put the stick on your handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, did you find, because you're not what you consider a competitive farrier, how did that play into your AWCF preparation?
Hard.
As somebody myself, I'm not a competitor. I did a little bit in the beginning, but my forging is my biggest weakness.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
You've always got to hit your biggest weaknesses. What I did is, a great friend of mine is Alex Collier.
Okay.
So, and he's on the England team. Yeah, and I'm lucky to have him, really. And I put myself out there, really. I ring people like Jay Tovey, and I went on the BFBA course, the AW course.
Right.
And I really, because the thing is, I'd been shoeing for 16 years. Before I came back to do my associate, I would advise nobody to do that. Oh my God. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Right.
What was I thinking? Oh my God. So if I can give any advice, please don't leave that gap that long.
Right.
It was horrendous. I was pedaling. It was just terrible, terrifying. Find somebody that will help you and somebody that you trust that will not crush you.
Right.
And it's not that person will crush you. You privately crush yourself by accident. Does that make sense?
Let me go into it a little more.
So, you know, if you meet somebody that is, never meet your idol, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No,
my God.
Yeah.
That's a terrible thing. keep them up there. Never touch them.
Yeah, right.
It's all good. What I mean is, if you meet somebody and they're quite a strong character and you really are struggling with something, you need to find someone that just is just that less strong.
Gives you a support as opposed to just knocking you down.
That's it. Yeah. They don't mean to knock you. You knock yourself. But you just need a bit more of a crutch to keep you upright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes
Does
total
that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be in the same camp as you in that department.
Yeah.
And it's funny because whether it was shoeing or any job that I ever had, my bosses had always had the reputation of being really tough.
Yeah.
So I went into it thinking, oh no, like this is going to be rough. And
it's going to hurt.
I don't know if they saw it and just knew that I was not the type of person who was going to thrive with that kind of tutelage, but they were kinder.
Kind. Yeah.
And
that's it. Kind.
Yes. Criticism. We all need it. We all need our egos checked.
But at the right time.
Yes.
It's at the right time.
And if it's just constant, I'm not somebody who's going to thrive with that. And it doesn't sound like you would either.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'd rather be kind and vice versa. You treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that anyone would treat you badly. It's just, it's somebody recognizing you don't need that push at that moment. You just need a squeeze. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
A 16-year span. What was the catalyst that made you decide, hey, you know what, I need to spend a lot of time in the forge and disrupt my life for a little bit?
Why? I don't know. Because I think, so a friend of mine had an apprentice. He was struggling himself personally. That you didn't need your associate then.
Right.
And he sat at my kitchen table. He was sending this girl to me for a day a week because he wasn't managing. And she was delightful, lovely. And I just thought, God, we can't let her down. So, and I don't know how to train. So I need to up my game. You didn't need your associate, but I felt I needed to sharpen my pencil to help her.
Right. Okay.
So that's why. So it's her fault. So she then became my first ever apprentice, and the reason why I did my associate.
Wow.
So another person along my journey would be April Whitfield. So
and
that's
is she
why.
Still a practicing farrier now?
She was here today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's lovely. They were all here today. It was brilliant.
Now, how many apprentices have you had?
So I had April, Joe Frank, who's on the England team, and then Sam Shanks, and then Jack McNulty, and then I've got Maud and Tom at the moment, and in between Hannah has just qualified. So
oh wow,
Yeah.
That's quite a crew.
Yeah.
On a much lower scale, because we aren't mandated to take any certifications, it was interesting. I started having help, and for the same reasons I think that you took your AW, I was like, I can't call this person an apprentice because I have no right to, because I don't have any way of knowing what level I'm even at, right?
So it would have been that.
Yeah.
It really was that. So how can I train someone to be a diploma if I'm not further on than what I'm trying to train?
Right.
Just a personal thing. I just don't feel you can train if you are not still training yourself. I know we learn every day, but you do have to put yourself outside the box and just continue to learn, which is why I was just trying to do my fellowship, because I still have apprentices. And if I stay at my AW, I'm stagnant. So I need to be learning. I need to be training to be able to train.
Yes.
Is how I feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes total
Up my
sense.
game. And I don't even know what I'll do with it. But it purely is a personal, I must be doing that to then, like you say, be honourable enough to continue to train. Does that
Yeah, it makes total
make
sense.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it seems like we're very similar in the way that you just need something else to work towards.
I'm not very good at still.
No.
No.
Me neither.
Don't sit still.
No.
No.
And I came into this job late. I wish I discovered it when I was 6. But everything that I approached before that always seemed like you're just going to reach a level and that's it. Like there's nothing more to learn. You're there. And it took me a long time to find it. But once I found this,
Every day is a learning day. It's a school day.
yes, and coming to an event like this, and just watching the competitors
It's mad.
and talking to people, and
Yeah, it's mad.
I feel like I should have written a lot of notes down because I'm sure half of it will slip out the other ear. But
Me too. And just because obviously we started putting this together on, when did I get here? Thursday. I don't even know what day it is now.
yeah,
But every day, just whilst we were unpacking boxes, someone else has come in to ask to help. And we've got another chap that's come in to help that hasn't helped before. And I've learnt from him. I've learnt from him as to why I'm here helping was because I was in a position that he is in, and he's come in because he's sort of telling his children to go to school and do this and do that and, you know, and be brave at what you do. And he suddenly realised he was stagnant at home.
oh right,
So he's now put himself outside the box and is coming here to help. And he was so nervous. I was like, mate, it's fine. Just crack on. Do you
this
know?
is going to be fun.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Have another bit. And, you know, and actually, thanks for coming
Mhm.
because you're lifting 3 more boxes and I don't have to lift those more.
Right.
You know, and he's run the demo area and he was stressing about running the demo area, but he's done a really good job. Fab, you know?
yeah,
Actually, I was there and now I'm kind of there. That wouldn't bother me. I'd run the demo area and I'll talk to you on the rate.
right, yeah.
Because actually, I'll learn something from talking to you.
Just pushing yourself outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's in any aspect of life, even for the podcast, going out to the competition arena and just walking up to people with a microphone. I mean, a lot of people aren't necessarily happy that you're doing that, but if you kind of go up and just put yourself out there and do it, then they actually have a conversation with you and like everybody's happy.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. The other thing is weirdly, is they wouldn't want to speak to you, but the moment that they speak to you is a moment that they'll breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that will then make their competition head a little better as well because
Yes.
they've had a moment of suspension
Yep.
and they've breathed.
Yeah, and it was still, all of it was consensual because there were some people who would say, like, listen, I can't. They might have had a bad run or whatever. They said, I can't talk right now. But just with anything, I find if I'm resistant to it, I think, well, if I'm resistant to it, it's probably worthwhile. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll try.
No, blooming good on you. Brilliant. Absolutely good on you.
But that's what everybody here that we all consider our heroes, that's what they've done, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Even the 2 gentlemen that sat beside me at lunch today, I had Hayden Price and Spud.
Yeah.
And Spud was not keen on doing it at first.
No.
And he didn't even look comfortable while we were doing it, but he put himself there. And I'm sure that's why he shoes the horses he does.
Exactly. He puts himself there.
Exactly. And it's obviously the way why Hayden does the ones he does.
Yeah.
This portion of the podcast is called the Stratum Tectorium. These are the short answer, surface stuff questions, but it's okay if the guest wants to go deeper. Enjoy. What is your favorite book? And that can be either a textbook or fiction or whatever.
Wrongly, I don't read. I try to read.
Yeah.
That is my downfall. Horrendous.
Not everybody does.
No, my favourite book, anything sort of veterinary or related to our job, I love. No, I don't have a favourite book.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't have a favourite book. Anything I learn from.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Even if it's somebody else's textbook. Anything. Andrew Bowie would laugh at this, actually, because I always have a book. I have a book that I've had a book forever, and it's now 2 books that live in my toolbox. And any bit of steel that I measure, I write it down and what it came to. So that book, to me, if I lost those books, I would cry. Andrew Bowie laughs at me because he's like, your book. That would be my favourite book.
So it's a non-fiction book.
That's a personal knowledge book. Yeah, that has any shoes that I've made. Grant Moon taught me this. Any shoes that I've made, they have 8 to 10 steps written down. It's flip cards that are in my book, that are loose in my book as well. So any shoe that I've made that I then want to remake again, if I can't remember, or there's something that I've forgotten, I know if I look at that card, there's between 8 and 10 sits in the fire. And that shoe will be made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that takes some effort afterwards, but obviously it pays
I write
dividends.
I scribble it, and then I'll go and write it in neat, and then I put it in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a copy of that book someday. What is your favorite brand of nails?
Mustard Slims.
Okay. Your favorite brand of rasp?
Hella Legend.
Favorite anvil?
My anvil at home that I inherited from my boss, that he inherited from his boss.
Oh, that's cool.
I have no idea what it is, but I love it.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Favorite rounding hammer?
Is it a Dave Schoen?
Yeah.
Dave Schoen?
Yeah, I interviewed him.
Did you?
Yeah, I got to meet
cool.
him at the convention, in like the AFA convention, and just met him in talking with Chris Gregory, and I was like, hey,
that's
how
so
would
cool.
you like to...
Now
yeah.
I have envy. I have envy. So that's my turning hammer, and then in the truck I have a beanie hammer.
Okay.
I love that as well.
Yeah, I've had a few people say that as of late. Ideal number of horses to shoe all around by yourself in one day?
Oh, crumbs. I suppose 5. But to be honest, I've had apprentices for so long that we don't work like that. We work as a team.
Right.
And it's a team.
Right.
So we might have 2 trucks in a yard, or 1 truck in a yard, and there might be 1 truck in a yard with 3 people, or 1 truck in a yard with 2, or 2 trucks with 6. So you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and everyone kind of, it's not that everyone has a job. If both trucks are there, or I'll usually fit everything, unless there's pairs that come out, and then the qualifieds will fit those, and we just have a team. Yeah, we have a lovely time.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's cool.
Do you have a dream farrier rig?
So, bear in mind how long I've been shoeing. My blue Vito van now, if I retired with that, I would be happy.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is made by a guy called Steve Roy, who has done the back of my trucks since I had my Bedford Rascal at 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But my dad always built my wooden shelving, and then my wooden shelvings went from truck to truck to truck.
Okay.
And we just got 1 set left. Sadly, he passed away, so I'll never have another set of those.
Right.
But Steve always does my anvil runners and my drawers and stuff. And this van, which we built over COVID, that's the one.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite inspirational quote?
No, I don't.
It's all right. I always struggle with that one myself.
Don't. God, that's like, you can't ask me that.
Okay. Well, I won't.
Yeah.
We'll pretend it never happened.
There was an Aristotle one, wasn't there? And it's like, I can't remember the whole thing, but it's an element of genius or something with it has to have an element of madness. It's something like that. I can't remember what it all is.
I can see why you appreciate
cool.
that.
It's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a mystery lameness that you don't have any diagnostics available or whatever, do you have a favorite pad or package or shoe that you would put on?
I do use the copper sulfate, the Vetec copper sulfate pads,
Mhm.
CS. Oh, mystery lameness. I would probably actually, we'd watch it walk up, we'd see where it landed and loaded, and then we'd probably, a real quick off the cuff, I'd soften the outside landing border, sort of slightly omnidirectional maybe.
Yeah.
And then bar shoe or open-heeled wide web shoe, and then copper sulfate infill with copper sulfate granules stuck to the frog just to antibacterial
Yep.
sort of thing.
And then see how that pans out.
See what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're stuck on a case, who would you call?
Oh, who would I call? I've got some really, really good local guys. I'd ring Andrew Nichols. I'd ring Andrew Bowyer. I'd ring Rob Shave. Oh, God, I've got like millions.
Well,
Yeah, lists.
Yeah.
Loads. Yeah, loads. My ex-boss who rings me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, God, yeah. And if I ring him, he'd go, bloody hell, you know what you're doing. Blah, 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 blah.
and that
then-
might be just the answer you needed,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
then I go and do it. Yeah, loads of people, actually. And I work with a lot of vets at home, and I can ring them at 8 o'clock at night, as they do me, which is
Right.
lovely. And
Yeah.
it's off the cuff about people you necessarily don't shoe for, but they want to go in the following day and feel confident in front of a farrier. So they'll ring and go, what would you do for that? How many options have you got? So I'd throw 3 options out so they know they can go in confidently looking good.
And sometimes if you know the farrier that they have to talk to, I've had this conversation myself.
Yeah.
You know the personality traits and what they
That's
can
it.
kind of play to,
Yeah,
right?
it's playing to the strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the minute you play to someone's strength, you've got them on side, and then they perform better anyway, don't
Exactly.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a few
Yeah.
farriers at home probably wouldn't know, but there've been times where I've kind of explained, like, if you want to get through to this guy, this is the best
You and
way
me
to
both.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hopefully it worked out for both.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And usually it does. And yeah, it's just making life easy. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What's your favorite method of soothing aches and pains?
A jacuzzi. We got a jacuzzi at home.
Nice. Same.
Gin and tonic.
Mm. A little G&T in
Yeah,
the jacuzzi. Yeah.
Yeah. Which everyone thinks we're mad, but Frosty is I say he's a builder, but he's not. He's conservation and like cob walling and all sorts of things. And he's got to get in the jacuzzi for the following, he's just as beaten up as I am, to be
Right.
honest.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we're both kind of crippled. Yeah. We laugh. We have a beer.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
in the jacuzzi.
Yep.
Yeah.
My missus and I, we
talk
have,
about the day.
Yep. That's often where we will
Yeah.
have our sort of
Yeah.
end of day
That's cool.
conversation too.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Favorite drink? Is it the
Gin and
tea?
tonic.
Okay.
I like a dark and stormy.
And what is that?
That is rum and ginger beer.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
With a bit of lime. It's good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a try.
Try that.
Yeah. Favorite genre of music?
Anything. I rock to anything.
Okay.
Apart from Stormzy. Not really that sort of
Stormzy.
Stormzy. Is it sort of like, I don't know what you call it, but it's not for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, dance to anything. Don't
Okay.
care.
Yeah. I
Love it.
I heard you did a bit of dancing last night.
Yeah. Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
we go.
We can edit
Yeah,
that.
no,
edit
it's
that
fine.
out.
It's fine. Oh, there was a live band. You just got to do it.
Ah, it's too bad we missed that. If you were stuck with somebody in a shop for a month under lockdown, who would you choose?
Oh my God. Who would I choose? Do you know what? Danny Bennet.
Ah, he's on my list too.
Danny Bennet. Because
He will be chuffed to hear that.
because I think one of us might not come out alive, but
Well,
in a good
that's
way.
true, yeah.
In a good way. We would laugh our bloody socks off. I'm telling you. And there would be steel everywhere.
Yep.
And yeah, Danny Bennet and a packet of Haribo and cider.
Okay.
Great. We'd have such a blummin' laugh, to be honest. And we'd come out with all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
It would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I guess the last one, what would you have been if not a farrier?
Nobody. I don't know. No, there was no way on this earth I was not going to be this.
That's awesome.
I do my hobby every day of the week.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, that is very clear.
Yeah, I do.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
No worries. Yeah, pleasure. It's
That's
lovely.
awesome.
It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it's been great meeting you too.
And thank you for coming all this way.
I never thought I would end up here.
Oh, God.
Just
What, in this
having-
room? No, me neither.
At Stoneleigh,
Yeah.
interviewing people here,
That's so cool.
surrounded by heroes and
But it's what it's all about.
folks like yourself that,
Yeah.
inspire me to
Blah,
go
that-
further. So,
That's a massive compliment. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, have a great night. Before I go, I wanted to say a few words about an organization that I learned about when I was over in England. The Farriers Foundation, which is an entity that was set up by a group of farriers as a means of helping those who get taken out of work for a period of time through illness, injury, or what have you. And if you go over to Danny Bennett's Lockdown Farrier podcast, you can actually listen to an episode where we interviewed some of the key members from that group. And they explain everything, but I just thought I would put a little bug in your ear. One of the points that Grant Moon brought up in that interview was that if every farrier in England donated the proceeds from one shoeing job to the organization, that would help immensely. We all know that this job has its inherent risks, and at any point, one of us could be one of those people who are in need. So why not donate now and help out your fellow farriers? You can find the Farriers Foundation online at thefarriersfoundation.co.uk. Well, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other out there. We'll talk soon.